Let's begin this morning with Tropical Storm Milton, expected to hit Florida's west coast as a major hurricane on Wednesday. The Florida governor already preemptively declaring a state of emergency in dozens of counties, with a lot of folks still cleaning up the mess from Hurricane Helene. With 15 million people now under flood alerts through Thursday, some in Tampa spent Saturday, look at that, preparing sandbags to try to hold back the expected storm
I was
surge.
wrong. I was wrong, man. I was thinking last week when I heard about Hurricane Helene, well, 2 weeks ago now, I was like, man, people are going to be okay. It's not unsurvivable. And now I'm like, back to back, that's pretty rough, man. Midland is already in under 11 hours. It is the fastest growing storm in all recorded history. Like, since we've been able to record and measure how quickly storms become Category 5s, it's the fastest hurricane to reach Cat 5.
That is scary.
Yeah.
And these are back-to-back. I mean, within a week and a half.
We haven't had that in a minute, dude. It's been a while since we've had back-to-back big ones like that. So, hey, folks, welcome to the Mick and Pat Show. I'm Mick, sitting here with Pat, and we're about to actually have a couple guests on here to talk about their experiences with, the current windup of Hurricane Milton and what it's like and what they're preparing for. Good friends of ours. We'll keep it casual. We're not trying to we're not making a documentary. Then we'll have someone who's actually on the ground with the recovery effort for Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, correct? Who's down in Asheville.
Yep. I was down there for about the past 6 days. So just got back and we're going to call him in.
Great. Yeah. So first, to be considerate, we're going to reach out to our contact on the ground out in Florida. And just because, he's 2 hours ahead.
All right. We're ringing in the Fudge. Coming through for your headphones.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, dude. What's up, Fudge?
What's up, boys?
You're live on the Mick and Pat Show.
Oh, love it. Long time, what do you say, long time listener, first time caller over here?
Oh, yeah, dude. So, I missed a call from you today, and I was wondering if you were calling because are you having to evacuate your family?
No, we're good for now. We're central Florida, and so we're away from the storm surge, which is the most dangerous part of it. So we're staying put for now. We'll leave if the guidelines tell us to leave, but other than that, we're going to stay put and let the roadways and the hotels and the gas stations be for people who need to leave.
Right on. Are you gassed up? Are you prepped?
I'm gassed up. It was a fight today to find some gas. My truck got some premium gasoline today, so it'll be extra happy.
Nice, dude.
So yeah, we're gassed up in all the cars, and got about a half tank of propane because propane has been out since I got back in town from Texas yesterday. But we'll see how it goes.
Dang, you should have stayed out for another week.
I know.
Missed the storm.
I need to be, we got camp prepped up today, and we have generators and Generac systems at camp. So if it gets real bad, we can head out there.
Oh, yeah. And what are people heading out? Are they are other people, because of this last one that just came through, do you feel like more people are evacuating? Are you hearing friends, other people, I have some family, because some of your family's out is going to be in line of this one, right?
Yeah. So currently right now we're, at least the latest projection I saw, well, there's kind of two main projections right now. And one of them, it's a little south of us, and that'll be, from what I understand, the better projection for everybody with less storm surge all over the country or all over the state. And one of them will put us right in the eye of it, sometimes late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning.
I got a question for Fudge.
What's up?
All right, Fudge. Just wondering. So we're looking at this, right? We're of course not familiar with at all what it's like to be in a hurricane. You said Central Florida. Do you mean around the Tampa Center area of Florida?
No, in the general vicinity of Orlando, a little more north than Orlando.
Gotcha. And when I'm looking at this, is it better to be in the path of like the eye of the hurricane, or is it better to be more on the fringes? Because I'm just wondering if it's like a blender.
The best spot to be is out of the hurricane.
Yeah, of course.
But above is better than below. So north is better than the north end is traditionally better than the south end. And I'm a new Floridian here, so if I say anything wrong, sorry, I'm still learning. But from what I've learned so far is the north is better than the south side. It's a little bit of a cleaner storm is what they say. The south side is usually dirtier with the arms and stuff. More tornadoes and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, you don't really want to be in the eye because that's where you're going to get the eye wall, which is going to be your highest winds and highest chance of tornado.
Gotcha. Okay. And then just curious, with everything that we're hearing about the responses to Hurricane Helene, especially up in like North Carolina, do you see a lot more people taking this seriously in the idea of like self-preparing or like self-reliance? Because it seems like a lot of people have now realized that like they might not get the same immediate response from the government in aid that they thought they might get.
Yeah, I would say in general, Floridians stay pretty prepared all the time for this sort of thing and stay pretty self-reliant. Of course, our governor today, ripped the gates down on some dump sites that were closed so they could dump trash all day today because one of the big problems with this is there is just piles and piles of waste from people pulling out their houses after they flooded just on the side of the roads in these places that is expected to have 150 mile per hour winds and 10 or 12 foot storm surges. So there's just gonna be kitchen cabinets ripping through the air if we don't get them cleaned up. So our governor, I call him that because he's awesome also. He has put in a big response of anybody he can get his hands on to get that stuff cleared up, and he's put in some executive orders to keep places to dump trash and debris open 24 hours a day right now to get stuff cleared up.
Fudge, have you seen the movie Crawl?
I have not, no.
Okay, how serious of a threat are alligators during a hurricane?
Alligators are not really a threat ever, I don't think.
See, I think a majority of Americans not in Florida think alligators are legit a serious cause of concern during a hurricane. So that's good to hear. That's good to know that you don't have to worry about them coming and taking advantage of the high waters.
I mean, you'll see them. Like, there'll probably be an alligator in the street or something, but it's just an alligator.
Spoken like a true Florida man out there, dude. Right on, man. We know you got to get to...
I would say the general vibe of this storm is a lot more serious than last one's. There's a lot of evacuations happening. I-75 was bumper to bumper. It's taking people 4 and 5 hours to go. 30 miles today.
Fudge, do you have perhaps like a way of helping the rest of us understand just like the difference between a Cat 4 and a Cat 5 in scale? I don't think a lot of people outside of experiencing these storms really understand the magnitude.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't experienced either yet in my time in Florida, but from what I've been researching and seeing, we haven't seen a Cat 5 in a very long time. So there's been some metrics that are putting this at, storms that are on the 50 and the 100-year plane of, how insurance marks those things.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a big, big storm.
Dang. Well.
And a lot of people are evacuating and batting down the hatches and getting ready. So.
All right. Sounds good, man. Well, stay safe out there. Maybe we might have to maybe check in next week see how it went down there.
Yeah. Yep, check in. So we'll be here and then we'll see how it goes. Be windy and rainy.
All right, sounds good, Fudge. Yep. We'll get some sleep. Right, we got an early day tomorrow. All right.
Thanks.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you could put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution. Dude, God bless Fudge, man. God bless him and his family. Prayers that just safety and wisdom would be over them to know what to do. Because sometimes it's just like, I mean, I'm sure you've been in that scenario here in Colorado with our Colorado weather at times, but sometimes it's like, all right, God, give me the wisdom to know when I need to call it.
Right.
And have me not make it too early or not too late, you know?
Right. Just to know, when. Because you want to be someone who's going to like stick it out or like you're just like, things will be fine or we'll be okay. But then there's sometimes you got to make the call. You got to make the call.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about like there was a time where I was driving through like blizzard in the middle of the night. And unfortunately, it was so warm during the day that the roads were still real slick and had it accrued snow. So you just couldn't see the roads, man. It was just jet black in the mountains. And I was like, all right, God, give me the wisdom to know when it's time to pull over and get a hotel.
Yeah.
And
for real.
It got to the point where I saw every other car and truck and semi-truck pulling over, you know, like things that were kitted out to do blizzard weather in the mountains. I was like, all right, well, if they're getting a hotel, I'm going to get a hotel.
That's probably some good wisdom. I'm a little too arrogant. I'm just like, we'll be fine.
Bro, it was like you couldn't see it was just darkness in front of you. There was no trees. It was like the road just went off into space.
Man.
I was like, get me the hell out of here.
You said you had to call it for a little bit.
Yeah. Anyways, man, I appreciate Fudge taking the time out of his day. And you know what? Ken, if you want to call in and leave us a voicemail or anything, we can do that. You know, give us an update on what's going on. Be our eyes and ears on the ground. Leave dad jokes, whatever. But, you know, we'd always love to hear from you. And, you know, hopefully Fudge calls in and leaves us, you know, a nice voicemail that we can always roll out with updates.
Yeah, so we can...
especially if, like, you know, we're not recording when there's a big update.
Yeah, or, you know, if it's his final moments in a hurricane, I hope he's calling to let the Mick and Pat show know what's up.
Yeah, I truly do.
You know. And so here's the deal. There's also we also said we're going to give our other guy a call here, and he
this is Dale, right?
This is Dale. He was out there, and I have no idea what his experience was like out there. I just know that he had friends out there. He wanted to get out there and make a difference, and so he spent 6 days out to Asheville area, I believe, and and we've been hearing a lot. It's hard to. I've been hearing a lot of all sides of this, of what's going on there, and he was on there for a little bit, but we'll see if he can shed any light on, you know, the situation there and what's going on. So here, we'll see if we can ring him up, if he's ready to rock and roll, and if he uses my real name.
Hello.
What's up, Dale?
How's it going, Pat?
Hey, nice work. You didn't blow the codename cover just like that.
You're not fired.
Oh yeah.
Making me do extra editing work.
Oh yeah.
So so you're live on the Mick and Pat show, and we're up here in the studio, the world headquarters, the secret location. Anyways, yeah, we're last week we talked about the hurricanes on the show, but then we now that we've had someone with boots on the ground there, we wanted to call in and see, you know, and now that you're back, see what your thoughts were, what you saw, what was your experience like, maybe what were you able to do, and yeah, we weren't able to touch base today either. So I'd love to hear about kind of what was it like there, when you flew in and the people you saw.
Yeah. So I flew in on a Wednesday afternoon, just right when the Asheville airport started taking commercial flights again. Got there and saw that there was a bunch of National Guard there at the airport as well. Not a lot of people on that flight, but I went there to help at Excel College. It's a former school I went to there in Black Mountain area. And they were actually acting as a big distribution center, serving all the people there that were affected by the hurricane. So pretty much when I was there, I was, working, unloading trucks, loading trucks, moving pallets around, just organizing supplies to, get relief to those affected by the hurricane. I was able to go out and see some of the damage and devastation of the hurricane. And, it was pretty bad. That area was really, just really slammed hard. A lot of their infrastructure was down. But actually the Excel College, they run on different water. So they had just gotten water back and power back. But Asheville, the big city out there, it's indefinite that their water is out.
Holy smokes.
So they were talking about, 3 months for them to get water back. But the destruction and damage to all that was so bad. Now it's indefinite that they're going to have water. So, that's pretty bad. If you've heard about like Chimney Rock and Lake Lure, that was a pretty popular tourist area that was really slammed hard and pretty much entirely destroyed. So there was a lot of different rumors circulating around about what was going on there. But the last I heard about that area was that the state was going to buy it, and they had started, bulldozing that whole city and community. And they had done as much rescue as they could there, but they were just going to start bulldozing that whole city, bodies and all. So as far as like death tolls and all that, they still don't even know, but it's likely the high hundreds, probably close to 1,000. I think it's hard to get good news on what's actually going on out there. Even when I was out there's just tons of rumors that were being passed around that were just, some of them untrue, some of them true. There's a lot of bad actors, people just looking to loot and, kind of take advantage of that situation. But also I've never seen so many people open carrying in my life. So, there's a lot of good folks out there as well, trying to, protect and get supplies to where it's needed. So yeah.
Wow, that's wild. The kind of just stunned to this part you were talking about with the whole community just being straight bulldozed out. That's super. It's crazy, yeah. Especially if recovery efforts have gone as far as they can, and it looks like just from the pictures we've seen and stuff, like when that much water pours through something, it's like turns everything into like cement. Like it's just going to be messed up. And I guess from my understanding, it seems like it's pretty much like it's because of how steep and mountainous it is there that like basically this huge storm just caused these just massive massive floods, and then that they'd probably, in the amounts of water they'd maybe definitely the communities had never seen before, but maybe like that little part of the U.S. of America hadn't seen in I don't know, since the river got first carved out.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of that city. A lot of the city is in Asheville is built around the French Broad River, I believe, is the big one out there. It's there's the whole River Arts District that was a super popular area for like downtown, people come and hang out there and whatever. But it was just, I mean, that whole area was just completely destroyed. And looking at like the region as a whole, I heard that only 2% of all the people and businesses out there had catastrophic flood insurance. Just because, something like that, you think hurricane, I mean, that part of West North Carolina, they're hundreds of miles inland. So, why would you have catastrophic flood insurance? So
right.
There's just so many people out there that, I mean, not only are they going to be rebuilding, but it's, for individuals, it's going to be so hard for them to, get back to a point where they could really financially sustain what their current lives were before, going forward. But overwhelmingly, I mean, a lot of the places we went to, deliver food to and stuff like that, they, there was a ton of response. I mean, the last couple of days I was there, the distribution center I was at, they had gotten so much stuff that the, yesterday and today, maybe even tomorrow, they were only giving out. They weren't taking any new supplies or donations, just because, I mean, they had like a whole, probably multiple football field concrete pad just full of pallets of supplies in a warehouse stocked with food, and they were just trying to get stuff out to people. So there was a lot of response. We saw people there coming from Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Alabama, Georgia. There was this one group that was out there, called themselves the Cajun Navy, and they were going out with side-by-sides doing rescue ops and that kind of thing, trying to find people. And there's all like the politics of FEMA coming out there late, and they were going around and they had even seized some distribution centers and like taken their resources. But really the locals and people from surrounding states were responding in such a way that whatever the government was trying to do or not doing, not that it was irrelevant, but there was just so much response from just good-hearted individuals and organizations that were providing relief to people. But really, it's just going to be a long-term rebuilding process, especially with Asheville. I mean, not having water for months going forward, they're just going to need sustained response, not just a big initial glut of resources pouring in. They're going to have food and water continually brought in for months going forward.
For sure. Because did you hear any word about people who were like people still stranded and like not like up in the mountains of those areas, or were they starting to be able to get up to them? It seemed like most of those roadways those main veins were just completely washed out. Did you hear anything about people still being stranded in those ways?
Yeah, so what I heard, the first few days I was there, I mean, there was, we were doing like supply drops to helicopters and stuff coming in, getting them medical supplies and food. And, there's always choppers going overhead and that kind of thing. And there were those people camped out, those Cajun Navy folks that going out doing rescue ops. But the last 2 days or so I was there, a lot of those rescue people going out to search and find whoever they could help that was stranded, they were kind of coming back, not finding as many people, and people that were stranded were getting help. There were like a few locations I heard about that were, there's some of those bad actors. There was this one spot, I think it was in Burnsville, where like the fire department got robbed at gunpoint and some crazy stuff like that. But when it came to rescuing people, it kind of seemed like there was a shortage of people that needed rescuing, and a lot of the people that had, that were stranded had gotten help. I mean, their homes were like entirely destroyed, but they had gotten help, and I don't know where they took them or where they're staying now, but they were kind of running out of people to rescue, which was a good thing. But yeah.
I got a couple questions. Dale, can you hear me? This is Mick.
Yeah.
All right, so just a couple again to try to make sure I think it's very hard for people inland. Majority of our audience is based out of like Colorado and kind of the western states here along the eastern slope of the Rockies. And so I think it's really hard for people to imagine like what a storm like this is. And so I was wondering, like, one thing I really know when I visited Pigeon Forge and spent a lot of time there in the Smokies. And I remember seeing so many farms and livestock, and I've seen videos where people are reporting like their whole farms, their whole barn is swept away. And I was just wondering, like, did you have any insight or did you see anything or hear any numbers regarding like the livestock casualty or like, the amount of devastation for farms? I think it's easy to kind of quantify in livestock, but I'm just curious about the metric because I do know like a lot of our listeners are familiar with like, just how many cattle there are out here or, how many farm operations there are. So I think that might help people kind of understand like the magnitude.
Yeah. Honestly, I couldn't give you a number on that. That's probably one thing I didn't really hear much about was livestock specifically. I know that, a lot of the devastation was, really it's kind of in those lower elevation areas around rivers that, stuff was just totally wiped out. So I imagine a fair bit of livestock were just, included in that. I couldn't give you a number though when it comes to that. But flying in, I did see like, a lot of like I-40 between Knoxville and Asheville. And now they're saying that that's not going to be operational until like late fall of 2025, just because it was totally taken out. But as far as like livestock specifically, I unfortunately I don't have a number for that.
That's all right. I guess, is there anything like, is it true though? Like, people talking about like, I'm hearing stuff about like, complete, barns and operations just totally swept away because they didn't have, they're not like, they don't have the foundation that you would usually have in a flood area. And I was wondering, like, did you meet anyone like that, or did anyone discuss like the damage to like the, farming community?
Not specifically. No, I didn't meet anyone talking about that. But I can imagine. There was, the waters that came through, like, the Biltmore House is a big, big famous old location out there, and they had like their big arches, and there was water like 15 foot high up on those arches. And I've seen some satellite images of places that, just entire communities that were just fully devastated by it. And some of those definitely included barns and different farms and ranches and things like that. So, I can't, like I said, I can't tell you exactly what that number would be, but, like talking about like Lake Lure and those kind of communities, like there were those like little cities and towns that were not just like partially destroyed, like pretty much 100% destroyed. So that's got to include some fair amount of livestock and farms for sure.
Another one that I think is like really adjacent to our community. A lot of our listeners know we love New Belgium and drink New Belgium beer. And, their original brewery is out here in our neck of the woods. But we also know they had that secondary location for manufacturing distribution, and it was a massive operation in Asheville, particularly because of the water in the river in Asheville. Yep. And I was just wondering, like, did you hear anything about New Belgium and, kind of what the state of their operations are over there?
Yeah, right now the only New Belgium that's operational is going to be here in Colorado. I know a lot of their, there's pictures and videos, and I saw even just driving down through Biltmore Village, there was like, shipping containers wrapped around telephone poles and semi-trailers thrown into the side of, McDonald's, and just all kind of crazy carnage through there. I'm pretty sure from what I saw, from where New Belgium was located, they had to be, they're not going to be operational. And like I said, there's no water. I'm pretty sure New Belgium was pretty much wiped out.
Yeah, because they're right on. I mean, they're right on the river there. They might be.
Yeah,
might be just
I
down
don't
there.
I don't think there's really anything. I mean, all through there's nothing left. So I can't imagine that they were an exception to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, I just also want to say too is like beer is not more important than the quality of people's lives, right? But I do think it's something that people can like conceptualize and understand, especially regarding like our audience, right? So with that too, like when you say wiped out, I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding of like what that looks like from this kind of flood and devastation. And I'm just wondering, like, are we talking like, as the floodwaters are flowing out, how deep is like the sediment that it's pulling down with like this mudslide and the flooding, like, cause I think a lot of people are thinking like, well, how can it be wiped out if the water goes away eventually? I think a lot of people don't understand the visual effect that these floods have.
Yeah. I mean, from what I saw, there were locations where it was like, multiple feet deep of mud. And that's like, downtown in Asheville, there's the Biltmore Village, which is kind of this historic area. Just these old buildings and different businesses and stuff. But they were, floodwaters all through there. Some of them were, there's this one video of like a mobile home just getting carried down the river. So as far as like sediment being carried through there, it was, like feet deep of mud. And they're talking a lot of that historic areas. Those buildings are just going to have to be entirely condemned because now the foundation is just so unstable, and pretty much a lot of that area is just turned into a floodplain now. So it's not just a matter of like rebuilding. It's like that ground itself is just totally unstable and unfeasible for like future construction and rebuilding. So there's just, I don't know what that's going to look like, but for right now, there's just no foreseeable rebuilding on a lot of those areas.
It's just crazy.
For sure. And like anybody listening right now, like look up like pictures of the Biltmore Village and like the stuff through there. It's like super beautiful historical buildings, like it's a really special place. And I got to spend some time in Asheville when I was a little kid. But yeah, it's crazy to think that lots of that stuff, it really, these communities, from what you're saying and what we're hearing, it's like lots of these places just really aren't going to be the same. People are going to have to, people are going to have to leave these communities. The rebuilding is going to take a very long time. And so to reestablish their communities and their culture, and there's going to take some time. But, encouraging stuff, you've been saying about, the communities sound like they've really stepped up as individuals and small groups. And, heck, it's the Appalachian Mountains, like,
hardy people.
They're not necessarily like they're not like been the government can come or go for them in some ways too, like they kind of take care of their own and stuff, but it's going to take a, like you were saying, a heavier push and a long-term push to rebuild these spots and take care of and take care of all these things. Yeah, man. Well, thanks for taking some time with us, and I think we've got Mick has two more questions for you. He's holding up a 2 more finger sign.
It's unreal that we have someone in our community who has been here, right? And I just think you have an opportunity, right? We operate the show to enable people like you to be able to talk very freely and not worry about repercussion. That's the whole idea behind the Mick and Pat show, is that people can speak, honestly and not have to worry about it. And so I guess I just really, one side or the other, no agenda, I think I'm not trying to fish here, but I've seen things, and I know other people are watching this on YouTube, right? They're watching Tim Kennedy say there's massive underreporting, it's borderline criminal, the lack of seriousness the government has towards this situation. They're underreporting deaths and injuries and missing people. They're taking over, medical setup sites. There's reports of like people saying the police haven't been doing anything. The police have been actually, stealing themselves. There's reports of, Ringo Starr said like, and he showed footage of it, but I'm skeptical on it, just like Pat is, like, but he showed footage of a helicopter coming down, its rotor wash blowing away a ton of aid, and then it takes off. And that could have just been a bad move and not an intentional effort, right? And then I'm hearing other stuff, of just like absolute like sites set up for relief where no one is actually present. And when people show up to get relief aid, there's no one to actually unlock the gates and let them acquire it. Like people just are leaving supplies and not going. And I think, like you said, there's so many rumors and there's so many agendas of like, yep, damn the government sucks. And then there's also the agenda of, I see, people doing reports. They're like, I'm part of the National Guard. I've been there on the ground. And, the government's doing everything they can. They're doing great, right? And so it's like two sides out of the same, story. And it's hard to understand when you're removed what's going on. So I do really just want to ask, like, is there anything that you feel like you think from what your experiences that you'd want to clarify or that, like you can speak to for sure of like, hey, guys, this isn't happening, but this is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, the reason I went out there, I lived in Black Mountain for like a year and a half and, just really love the area. And, there's great people out there and the school I went to was, had a strong impact on my life. So what they were able to do with, being like, not just a distribution center, but Ted Budd, the state senator, he actually came out and visited that distribution center I was at Excel College, and to verify reports of what he'd heard, that they were the most active distribution center in the whole area. So from what I saw, they were like, that's just 100% volunteers. Like, this is a college campus that just went from, we just have students out here and we're doing classes and doing our thing, to like, no, we're going to use our resources to help these people and do whatever we can. And, that there were volunteers coming in there. There was like this Mexican church that came and just, served for like a couple of days, just, moving around supplies and volunteering and doing whatever they could. So definitely like what you're saying about a lot of the, like Pat said, it's the Appalachian Mountains, and like, those people are going to get it done. And like, honestly, the government, FEMA, like whatever kind of politics, BS is going on there, the news can spin it whatever way they want. But from what I saw, when it came down to it, it was the people that were getting stuff done, and locals, and people from surrounding states that were coming in and donating their time, and all the helicopters we saw that were coming in and using their own fuel and using their own time and money to fly out stuff to individuals. It was the primary impact was citizens, not so much the government. So I think there's a lot of politics, like, oh, did FEMA respond fast enough? Like, oh, FEMA's there, but they're not doing anything. Like, the National Guard's there, but like, they're just kind of standing around, not doing a lot. It was the people that were getting stuff done, man. And, like I said, there's people open carrying. I think it was the, it's times like that where the Second Amendment right is key to, it's the citizens that are going to be actually protecting each other and looking out for their own best interests. And I think a lot of the local law enforcement and, paramedics, they were pretty overwhelmed. So the fact that there are, individuals that are going to come in and use their know-how and their knowledge to get things done, I think that was the most powerful thing that I saw. All the new stuff, man, you can just get lost in all that, but it was really the individuals getting things done and getting people helped out, from what I saw.
Wow, man, dude, thank you for that. Appreciate your honesty there too, and yeah, that's what we value the most here. Just getting that like accurate, honest information from the ground. I think the last question I have, which I think is everyone's question, right? Everyone who doesn't have the ability or flexibility to, go and do what you did. Is there anything that you believe you could recommend as like a reputable way to contribute? I know there's a lot of, groups that are offering donations to go there. But sometimes you got to be careful of like the scam of like these things that are always trying to take advantage of a disaster. And so I'm just wondering, like, do you have anything that you could pass on to like us and the listeners of how we can support, even if we can't get out there boots on the ground ourselves?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I was helping out with my old school out there. They're called Excel College. I personally trust those people, and I know. I was with them, helping with them the last few days, and it's just like, I was just kind of doing like grunt labor and whatever I could to help out. But they had a ton of resources and supplies donated, but in terms of like financial support, there wasn't as much of that. So personally, I would recommend like look up Excel College, and they have a fund set up to help those people and to be able to continue sustaining their operations. And it's not like it was just some random organization, but it's actually Ted Budd came out there, state senator, and verified that it was like the most active distribution center. And they're just doing that because they love the Lord, and the Lord's heart is to help those in need. So I think a big way to help them continuing their resources as like the most active distribution center in Western North Carolina would be financial donations, just because the incoming supply of like physical donations and food and supplies and all that was pretty big, but they're kind of needing some more financial support out there. So that's an organization I can recommend 100% to give to. I look up Excel College, and there's links, and you can find them and give there.
When you say Excel, is it spelled like the Microsoft Word stuff, the Microsoft EXCEL?
EXCEL.
All right, great. Well, hey, those are my questions. Thank you, Dale. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, man. Yeah,
for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you for getting out there, your heart behind wanting to help these people out. I think it's awesome to, capture the moment, capture the opportunity to go serve in that way. I've seen things like in my life over time where I haven't been able to, or I just haven't chose to. And there's parts of me that like regret not engaging that. So I'm just excited that you took advantage of your ability to go get that done. And so I think that it's admirable and honorable that you would go take your time to pour out into a community in that way and think outside yourself. And so like on this show we joke around, we fart joke and whatever else, but like things like this are what I like most about when we get into like kind of the real stuff. And so it's awesome to hear what you saw out there, what you were able to do, as well as, just excited to get this out to other people so they can hear about your experience and maybe be encouraged to, step outside themselves as well when people are in need. So, thanks so much for taking time with us, and we'll let you go here because it's getting kind of late.
Yeah. No, thank you. And I'm blessed to have a job and a boss that's flexible and understands that, stuff that really matters. So I'm definitely appreciative of that. Definitely wasn't just of my own accord, but definitely had support on the home front to go out as well. But yeah, thank you.
Right on, sir. Well, you have a good evening, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Pat. Thank you, Mick.
God bless, bro. It's man, that was, I'll be honest, like as a just a raw emotional reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really surprised, man. Like, because there's so much like we've heard and seen over the last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like to hear it just from like someone that we know, like within our community, and just like some of the things he said, I'm just like, wow, that's kind of unreal. You know what I mean? Like there's a couple times there where he was talking that you and I just wide-eyed. Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, for sure. It was like, what is going on, bro?
Yeah, I guess one thing, I don't know, I was kind of debating it here. Like, do you think there's any value in us like looking at any of this like social media content that people are posting. Like I was gonna play a video, Tim Kennedy's update, but I just don't know if there's like necessarily more value to that than what we just heard, because what we just heard was super awesome.
Yeah, I think that like he covered it for us, and like gave us an idea of what's going on there. And like he said, whatever your algorithm's feeding you, whatever your media is feeding you, he got to the heart of the matter on that. And yeah, people out there listening, if you want to go, dive into whatever algorithm you've got, you can, to go see stuff, and you should at least to continue to have a deeper understanding of the situation there. But yeah, I think breaking down other things we've seen, like you said, what I think is so cool is that the people stepped into the situation, and like and I meant it when I said like the Appalachian people out there, like just like they're
different kind of folk, bro.
Yeah.
Athens, Tennessee, man.
Oh, yeah.
The only town to like beat the government.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
because we did a whole deal on that.
Yeah, we did a
Go
whole
back
deal
and
on
listen
Athens.
to the origin of the term redneck.
Exactly.
And about the coal miners out there. And yeah, this is a part of the world that embodies this little. I think that all Americans at least have a little bit of this in them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like from the Appalachian Mountain region that like that thing in you. You may just have a tiny little speck of it, or you might be just full blown out there. But like this thing in us that's like our American individualism, and our elbow grease and our stick-to-itiveness and our like that thing in us that says me and mine, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna see this through, regardless of the bigger picture out there. These people down there embody it well, and so, yeah, I think that as far as like continuing to cover that, I think he covered it all. Like, this region, looking at these flood maps and these things and kind of the stuff that Dale was talking about. I mean, about just scraping a town. I mean, holy smokes.
Yeah, that like, I think there's a lot of things, Dale said, but like the idea, I mean, he said bulldozing it, bodies and all.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the acceptance that like underneath this mud, this sediment, the, ruins of these buildings, like, we're not getting people out of it.
Right.
Like it what's best is to dig it down to the pipes and redo.
Exactly, because, when I mentioned earlier, like it turns into cement, I wasn't joking around the fact that like you'd have to have teams and teams of people painstakingly going through every little bit. I mean, it'd be like paleontology, basically. Like
exactly, yeah. You're doing some archaeology stuff.
And it's sad and hard in that sense, but like, I mean, I don't know. This gets into like some rocky territory on like, because I know there are a lot of people actually with like, this happened with the Ground Zero 9/11. They stopped. At some point they called it and they scraped it. There's people still in there.
They did. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and there's people to this day.
Well, they're not there now. They were just like all moved into whatever it was all pushed to.
Well, they're moved to the dump. So they were all put to the dump. And so now there's family members there are certain family members who have been protesting to this day and hoping to find their people. And so my heart goes out to those people for that situation. And on an individual level, yes, I'm with them. And then also from a viewpoint of like, hey, this has to move forward situation. At some point after a year, and I don't know how long the Ground Zero search efforts went on for, but long enough that nobody was alive. At that point, it would be remains recovery, right? And so so
I mean, it's like for those who are listening, it really is a lot like the big 2013 floods. Of like the Big Thompson and the floods that also hit like Boulder, Colorado. Like, I don't think a lot of people realize, and we mentioned it right last week, but like those things brought mud and sediment down from the mountains and trees that were like taller than the houses built in those canyons.
Right. Just speaking to the sheer magnitude of a flood. Right.
Yeah.
And I think this one was, loss of life, obviously different in this situation, but, and I'm not sure what, like, our terrain's so different, but like, I'd assume from the amount of stuff moved there on like that sediment to search through piece, it has to be even like wilder.
Well, it's like you said, it turns into cement. Like,
Right.
what is cement if not sediment and water and evaporation? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's one of those things that, I guess it just definitely lands differently. And one thing I really appreciate Dale said, like, I mean, I've never met Dale in person.
Mm-hmm.
I just know he's, within our circle, and, his perspective on like emphasizing it was the everyday Joe that showed up, and they showed up with their guns and they were making sure people were safe and supplies were safe. Just like how bad actors showed up at places with their guns and took advantage of the situation. You know what I mean? It's like the duality of the whole situation is like people were applying what they had, and some people apply it for evil, some people apply it for good. And like, I think, outside of just like, Second Amendment and how that enables us to protect, right, from like bad agents, which is wholly unique. I don't think a lot of people realize that a lot of people are victims to crime and other natural disasters far more than Americans are, because a lot of other nations don't have that illicit, implicit right to self-defense and to protection of property and protection of others. And so I think that was really cool that he highlighted that. It's not like we scripted it or anything, but I think also in the context of like, he's talking about people who are using their tools and applying like what they have, whether that's their cars, their medical skills, whatever it is, to help supplement and support what's going on. And like, that is America. And it reminds me of a song. I've been listening to lately on repeat. I don't think it's the best.
Humps.
No, not My Humps. But it's certainly not David Bowie's best song. But it's David Bowie's I'm Afraid of Americans song.
I don't know if I've ever heard this.
Oh, you've never heard of I'm Afraid of Americans?
No, I'm excited.
Maybe I save it for the outro. Right.
All right.
But this song is like, it was definitely the don't get me wrong, it's not about Americans coming together, right? The song is about David Bowie's experience really living in America and realizing America is insanely powerful. And it's kind of a commentary on America invading other cultures with franchises, right? Like McDonald's enters, the Middle East or Asia, and it's bringing over American culture and incorporating it into those nations and all that. But there's like this line that I really love. I mean, it's more than one line, but like, he's talking about this guy, Johnny, who's in America and wanting to be an American. Like Johnny, Johnny's in America, but he's not from America. Johnny wants a brain. He wants to suck on coke, and he wants to think of a joke. He wants a woman. It's like all these things, America apparently appears. But at the end of it, he just keeps repeating over and over, God is an American. Na 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 na. God is an American. Na 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 na. And like, it's just like this kind of ironic, interesting thing of like, clearly a nation so successful in its population, so faithful, must have God on its side. You know what I mean? Like, right? It's like, what's even the point of fighting a nation like that? And I guess I kind of like, I'm totally characterizing this song differently than what I think David Bowie intended. His intention was a critique. My intention is like, I've been listening to that song a lot just out of joy. Don't get me wrong. I critique America every episode, but I do think like, bro, there's nothing more wholesome than people loving one another and coming together to serve and help their community out. And like, God is in that.
Mm-hmm.
God is in that American who is giving up his sleep, his finances. God is in that American who, you know, she is sacrificing and spending her time, you know, providing, you know, voluntary care and effort and organization to benefit her community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God is an American. He's there in that presence and in those people. And I just think, like, it's very hard, I think, to find another nation who has that emphasis of like he said, like, you know, regardless of the rumors of the government, it doesn't matter. He didn't even see that much of the government, but what he did see was the everyday American showing up.
Oh yeah.
And like, God bless him.
And
like, I think that's just like, dude, that's it. Like, you know what I mean? That's a big deal. That is the difference between America and other nations.
for real. And you know, it's like, and we have our dark underbelly. We talk about it here, like you said, right? And
Dark White Underbelly, great YouTube channel.
And we talk about we're not like pro like Christian nationalism, right?
Yeah.
Like either. So like that's not what Mick's saying here. And what he's saying is like, and I agree with, is this thing that to be a light on a hill is a special thing sometimes. And what I think is so cool is like, there were some people, I'm sure, who were showing up and all they had was a pair of muck boots to put on their muck boots and trudge through it and start using their hands. And like Dale said, he saw a lot of private helicopters.
Yeah.
That costs a lot of money just to get started and owning it, and then the operation of it.
Fuel.
Right. And so like, that's also, I mean, like, and people demonize like wealth in a lot of cases, and wealth can be corrupting, and love of money will lead to the dark side. It's just a fact of if you love it.
Yeah.
But having it's not a bad thing. Having money doesn't lead you to the dark side. Loving it leads you to the dark side. Having it and not loving it means you get to have a helicopter and fill it up and take people's stuff that's going to save their life.
Yeah.
And both those people, just like the story of the widow's mite, like in the Bible, where you have somebody who all they have is a pair of muck boots. That person's putting it on their muck boots, and that's all they have. And also all that other guy has is a helicopter, and he's bringing it, you know, and it's just like, it's encouraging. It's inspirational. And, you know, there's,
well, I mean, in support of that was Tim Kennedy's latest message. You know, he said in his latest video, it was like 9 minutes long. It just came out. It said update of, you know, Helena's situation. He said, there are boys out there, you know, young men, old men, with all they got is their, you know, troweling boat and their boots. And they are day after day clearly doing more than the 100 PhDs sent down from Washington to supervise and facilitate and discuss infrastructure and support and what to do, what not to do. They haven't done anything. They haven't taken any action. Whereas the boys who are, you know, pull them up by the bootstraps, them and their families, their wives and kids are given their time to go out. And he mentioned that he's like, these are guys who don't have $1 million.
right.
These are guys who like have the means to just, and you know, I'll say this, I'm not the biggest Tim Kennedy fan. I love this video though, and this message he's putting out of like pure honesty of seeing Americans look after Americans, right? And you know, he's like, they're going out with what they have, and they're bringing back people, and they're not just bringing back people, but they're also bringing back supplies. They're bringing back what people need. Someone says, "Hey, my house was here in this area. Are you familiar with it? It's got all of my like medication that if I don't have, I'm going to die."
Right.
And some good old boy is like, well, me and the missus will go and get it. And they go out, they leave at, I don't know, 11:30 p.m. when they hear about it. They come back at 4 a.m. having not slept a wink, spent all night sifting through mud and silt to try to find a box. And then they bring that life-saving medication back to people. Whereas the federal government can't even figure out like, when they're going to be providing a supply of that like supportive medication,
like,
right?
I've been sent to form a committee.
Yeah.
And like, what? We got to do this now.
We got the committee. It's called Jed, Cyrus, their wives, their kids.
Oh yeah.
You know,
that's what I love it. I love that there's a bunch of like 13-year-old boys out there more capable than anybody's sent.
Yeah.
Just running a motor.
That is crazy for me to because I also tried to be like, step out of your echo chamber, right? Mm-hmm. So I watched a couple of videos that are coming from the government.
Right.
Like they're putting their like best spokesperson from the National Guard to talk about stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was a whole lot of lip service. And like they literally, they didn't even have concrete things to say they were doing. They just were like saying like, yeah, the National Guard's there. Mm-hmm. FEMA's there.
Yeah.
But like they couldn't point to anything. Whereas then you have Tim Kennedy, who's like, what was he? Was he a SEAL or was he a
Green Beret?
He was a Green Beret. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. And, he's there and he's like, they're a whole lot of useless. Mm-hmm. The military showed up. He said 10th Mountain showed up.
Those guys are probably doing stuff.
Yeah, he said 10th Mountain's there and they're doing stuff.
Yeah.
FEMA National Guard aren't doing dick.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And the shame of that is every 18 to 24-year-old National Guard member who's there
wants to be that 10th.
And wants to be in the Cajun Navy. They're ready. Mm-hmm. They're probably, it's like, they didn't sign up.
They're held up by bureaucracy.
Yeah, they didn't sign up to form a committee. They signed up to do that stuff, So like,
yeah, they're being told to stand around, get their socks wet, go to sleep, wake up, get their socks wet.
Yeah,
and they haven't been able to do what they want to do.
Exactly. And so, poor leadership is definitely, poor leadership, super centralized leadership cripples the system. And what Dale was talking about here was he had awesome. He didn't speak to it, but what's going on in this situation is just awesome decentralized command. There's no commander here, just besides the fact that doing what's right, doing what's good, and people are stepping in, knowing we know what to do, just do it. And so there's people who stepping in and they're just firing up their John boats, firing up their helicopters, firing up their overlanders. I hope some earth roamers that were manufactured here in our neck of the woods are out there.
Earth roamers?
Have you ever seen an earth roamer?
Hell no.
Oh my God.
I would have thought an earth roamer was like a flat earther kind of tangent thing.
No. It's a truck. Look up earth roamer.
Okay.
They're out in northern Colorado and they are sick as hell. It's the ultimate.
Is this like the 6-axle Audi that I've seen?
No, just look them up. Basically, right. They're like overlanding on steroids. All overlanders probably hate them only because they can't afford them.
That is something Tim Kennedy did call out. He's like, we owe all those overland guys, all those guys tricking out their 4-wheel drive cars. We owe them an apology because those are the dudes who the government is saying you cannot get there.
Yeah,
you do not have the means. We need all-terrain military vehicles to get there, and those guys are like, bet.
Yeah,
actually, hold on. I'm gonna do my best. Creole accent. You're like, bet. And then they roll up. These things are sick. They're like big ass fifth wheels.
Yeah, if you're a part of the tiny wiener gang, also meaning lifted trucks, that's the guys who get it done. Like, listen, that's great. Put a gas can on your car, you can go an extra 100 miles, and earth roamers, and also out there
650? Holy smokes!
That's what I'm saying, bro. So hold on.
So I thought this was I was like, oh, that's cool. Like $80,000 for a fifth wheel, and it's $650,000.
They are. I will say this: Dean out there, who we haven't had him on in a while.
Yeah,
Dean's got to come back. But Dean's out there hearing us talking about earth roamers. Like, bro, are you kidding me? But here's the deal: they cost as much as a house.
What? That's more than my house.
But they are. It's basically typically it's like a F550 frame with. It's just lots of times the earth roamer is. You customize it out. Part of the cool thing about earth roamers. You typically customize this thing out yourself. But I mean, you've got solar, water filtration. You've got everything you need on a jacked up truck, and you get where you need to go.
Sure.
In a big old way. So
sure.
So yeah.
I mean, for that price, you should be able to go anywhere. Yeah, you should be able to take it to the moon. Yeah.
but so anyways, getting back to the crux of the conversation being that I'm just stoked. The same thing happened a couple years back. The Cajun Navy, man. I love those guys.
Yeah.
You don't have to sign up. You can just be self-proclaimed. You show up with a John boat, a lifted truck, pull it in there, have a mudless motor. Do you know what a mud motor is on a boat?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but basically, so for those of you listening, picture on the back of a flat John boat, you have a...
Hold on. Make it simpler. Most people don't know what a John boat is, Pat.
So if you have a boat with a flat bottom...
There you go.
It's about 17 feet long.
You mean it's not a canoe?
Not a canoe.
Okay.
And, normally on the back of your boat, you have just the
prop.
The big motor with the prop that goes straight down about 2 or 3 feet into the water.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, you have, imagine a giant weed eater and that giant weed eater is hanging off the back of your boat. So you have this long, 10-foot pole going back to your prop being the propeller. And so you can push down. It's not a boat with a steering wheel. It's a boat that you operate you're back on the back, pushing the motor, left to go right to go left type thing. And you're steering the boat and you're twisting your wrist to throttle it. In this case, you also push down and that prop comes up. So you can cruise in super shallow waters. The mud boats are super cool in that way. So anyways, there's guys just cruising around, getting done what they need to do in these places, flooded places. Yeah, I think that I'm just talking right now because I'm excited. I don't know. I'm kind of jazzed from the conversation that Dale told us. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm excited about.
I mean, that was something to be proud of.
Exactly. And then, so
I'm proud to be tangentially in touch with Dale. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm proud to know that there's a dude like that we have that we can call up. Because it's just, I'm sure a lot of people who volunteer for stuff like this think well, no, I'm just a Joe. I'm just a guy. There was a lot of other people down there doing stuff. The helicopter pilots,
right?
They're heroes. Doing this crazy nimble, flying to rescue people, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
No, dude, in my eyes, Dale's a hero. Because if I was in that situation, I'd be relieved to see Dale handing me some toilet paper, handing me some water, handing me whatever other supplies I needed to get back to, stability. Mm-hmm. And so I just appreciate those things. Yeah, damn it. Makes me super proud to be an American, bro. I'm not saying in other countries. I know other countries help their own.
Yeah. And we also help them when they need it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. That's the thing is what is when you see the disaster, I mean, I think we all can recall the absolute unreal disaster of the earthquakes and the tsunamis that hit India. Mm-hmm. The Indians knew those were Americans showing up to aid them. Additionally, with other people from the UN, right? But they also knew Americans were there volunteering to be there and be present. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at here's the thing. Regardless of how you feel about Ukraine war, the predominant number of volunteer fighters for the Ukraine war that are not Ukrainian are Americans.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
No doubt. And I just looked up this stat. I said, how much foreign aid does America receive?
0.
Well, there's not even a stat because every article, everything on there is about how much we give.
Yeah.
Right. And
bro,
so
we don't receive foreign aid.
Well, I know this.
Maybe we will in a Civil War instance. You know what I mean?
But meaning even in instances like this, I'm sure there's individuals in other countries who are donating to these causes. So I'm not taking away from charitable, generous people.
Thankful for those people.
Definitely, because that's beautiful. But just in a sense where you just go from the standpoint of being proud to be an American, just being we going back to what I was talking about with the Appalachian mindset of it's me and mine, take care of our own around here. That goes nationwide too, and so we don't and people would make an argument we don't need it, or I understand we don't have time for that podcast, right? But at the same time, it makes me proud to just be thinking about how citizens step up to take care of other people. Also, as a whole, because one beautiful thing about America, well, our system is not perfect. The people are the government. That's also another podcast to talk about whether we are or not. But in that same sense, like we have that as a whole, we still do have that same heart behind us.
Yeah.
And when we see other people in need, whether that be an individual or a whole nother country, we get involved and we assist, whether it ends up being good or bad. We're making effort.
Mm-hmm. Amen, dude. Well, you know what? I think that's a good capstone, keeping this completely focused on, the hurricanes and what's going on in the season, as well as like the, heroic actions of fellow Americans, and just the generosity that a lot of them have demonstrated. So I don't want to detract from that with anything else. So I think, Pat, if you're cool with it, I'm just going to play David Bowie's I'm Afraid of Americans and just let it be, something you hear and listen to for the first time. Yeah.
Yep. I think that I agree. I'm going to sign us off and then you play it out.
Deal, brother.
Because I did want to mention, like Dale said, this is going to be a long rebuild for this community.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. It's decades.
Yeah.
Like there's still places where I see here in Colorado that are decades out from the last forest fire and that hit them, still rebuilding. For sure. And so in that same thing, he gave us the place. If you want to give, if you want to, make a difference, look up excellife.org. Look up, that's the excellife.org or, Excel College. It's the excelcollege.com. And also, I think in this show, I'll post this link in our show notes so you can give. And you're going to be hearing this a week later. So even more political commentary is going to come out, even more. The situation, by the time you're hearing this, the situation, you might not have even heard about it for a few more days because that's how fast our news cycle is. But there's a good chance the situation is worse because of
for Florida
Hurricane whatever
Milton, right? For sure. And so, what I'm getting at here is, whenever you're hearing this part of America is still in need, and if you were inspired by what you heard, if you're wanting to give, go to the link in the show notes for Excel. Or look up Excel College yourself. Right now, currently, they have just like when you go to their page, it's right there. Boom, donate. This is a place that I now trust. Via our reporter Dale telling us about it, and I think that if you want to make sure that your money's going to the right place, give here. And even if you're hearing about this later on, these people are still going through it, and you can still make an impact, whether this is, a week later, a month later, or maybe even like a year or two later. You can still probably connect with these people and make a difference for what's going on with them in their community.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as we said earlier, but, or I guess prayed earlier, but I just do really encourage everyone, if you're a believer, like lift these people up, be praying for them in their communities. That's a powerful way to work with them. And if you don't believe in prayer, hey, put your wallet where your money is, wallet where your mouth is. Yeah. And if you're a Christian, donate some money too, right? Like, but definitely be praying for those communities and, especially our friends who are still in Florida and stuff. Keep them in your heart and minds. With that, till next time.
Journeys in America, no tax at the wheel. No one needs anyone, they don't even just pretend. Journeys in America. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. Johnny's in America. Johnny wants a brain. Johnny wants to suck on a coke. Johnny wants a woman. Johnny wants to think of a joke. Johnny's in America. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. Johnny's in America. Johnny looks up at the stars. Johnny combs his hair and Johnny wants to see in cars. Johnny's in America. Johnny's in America. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. Yeah, I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the worst. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. God is an American. 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 God is an American.
Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.